Bailey Armour and Scott Shapiro back with another week of horse sense. Kentucky Downs has finished, and now all of the Kentucky horses move their tack to Churchill Downs, which just opened yesterday on Thursday. We're filming this Friday morning. We're going to talk today about all of Saturday's races, the important stakes races, and especially the ones that kick off the road to the Kentucky Derby in May. Scott, I cannot believe it's already time for Derby prep season.
Well, it certainly is. It does start early, though. We've got 8 months until the actual running of the Kentucky Derby. 7.5, I guess, is the right thing. And you look at the Iroquois over the years, which we'll get to last. We're going to talk about the three stakes races, 8, 9, and 10, and the 10th is the Iroquois. But has not really been a key race, so it's fun to get it started. And it's fun to talk about it, earning points. But generally speaking, this is just a fun day of stakes action with very little implications on the road to the Derby.
Yeah, I think we looked at the stats earlier this week, and it's been quite a long time since an Iroquois winner won the Derby. I think that now it really can be a mark of a promising 2-year-old, but like you said, we have 7.5, 8 months until the Derby. I wouldn't necessarily count these horses as my Derby horse so early in the game, but of course I like, following 2-year-olds that blossom, especially this late in the year. So
Yeah,
we've
that's
got
exactly it to me. Is following these horses and whether one of 100 or one in 1,000 or one in 10 that wins a race moves on. It's just a fun process that became a full-time job for me for the most part. In my time for my previous employer, and I've really learned to love it. So yeah, while this might not be a key race, and I would essentially say these horses are maturing too early to be competitive. Probably come on the first Saturday in May. It's still a lot of fun.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, there's no turf racing at Churchill this September, so they can preserve it for a little bit later in the year. So everything that you'll see, any racing day at Churchill this September will all be on the dirt. We've got a trio, yeah, a trio of dirt races to talk about today, starting with the Grade 3 Pocahontas, a mile on that dirt for 2-year-old fillies, which I believe is an Oaks prep. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, the road to the Kentucky Oaks starts as well with the Pocahontas. Yep.
Yeah. So the girls will get an early head start. I took a look at this race this week in my handicapping. I think there are a lot of very fast and very sharp fillies in this race. The 1, the 3, 4, 7, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14. You've got so much speed. It was a little difficult to kind of narrow them down, especially such lightly raced horses. In that process, I took a look. I think the number 13, Kimchi Cat, will be the one to beat here. She's coming off a 2-win streak for Tom Amoss. She's got Tyler Gaffalione in the irons, who just had an incredible Kentucky Downs meet. And of course, we know he has a lot of success at Churchill as well. She won sprinting at Saratoga, and Tom Amoss wins 19% of the time sprint to route. I think this is probably the one that'll be a shortest price at the windows come Saturday. I'm going to try to beat her with a little bit longer of a shot on the morning line. The number 9, Strong State. She adds blinkers this time out. She won in the Grade 1 Spinaway at the Spa in the mud in August. Now, it's been pretty dry here in Kentucky. We did get some rain today, but I think the course will play pretty fast and dry on Saturday. She's got Irad Ortiz in the irons. Of course, he knows how to ride at Churchill Downs. I'm going to get a little bit better of a price than the number 13 Kimchi Cat with the 9. Don't think you'll get the full 5-1, but anything 3-1 or better, I would take.
I think you're going to get much more than 3-1 with Strong State. I don't think anybody is going to be below 3-1 in this race.
Great.
I too think Kimchi Cat is probably the one to beat, and I more importantly saw this race just like you did from a race shape perspective. It's really hard to figure out which of these fillies, if they break well, are not going to want the lead. Now, obviously, they all can't have it. We rarely even see 4 or 5 across the track in these types of races when it looks like it will be. But it's going to take some relaxing and finishing regardless, in my opinion. I think Kimchi Cat did it to an extent last time out. She's the one to beat in here on paper. But I went with a bigger price. I stopped trying to figure out who was going to settle and relax and just went with a horse with upside, because they're all not going to be on the lead. And the number 14, Liam in the Dust, does not draw on the inside. These inside posts with a lot of speed in these 1-turn mile races at Churchill, you do not want to be on the inside, having to work every step of the way. I thought this filly ran awesome on debut at Ellis. Even money, was bet down to even money for Rudolph Brisset, to one easier than it looks on paper. And she's out of an unraised Bernardini mare and still sold for $250 at the OBS March 2024 sale. So clearly she looked the part before the race that I saw on August 11th. So I like Liam in the Dust most. And I also am going to use Kimchi Cat, and then I have several I could use as backups.
It's so funny. Liam in the Dust was the very last one that I crossed off my list. I was between her and Strong State and went with Irad over the Rudolph Brisset barn, but
It's like everybody's going
it made
to.
me so mad to narrow her off my list because I really like that horse. So I think you'll get a good price. I would definitely play her. I mean, clearly you know
It's
plenty
going to be
about
a good
Churchill,
price.
and it's
Yep.
pretty fun for me to play as well. So definitely I'm going to keep my eyes out for Liam in the Dust. I think she'll probably, who knows, she might leave them all in the dust.
Have you ever been to the Louisville Thoroughbred Society?
I have not been to the Louisville Thoroughbred Society. I've heard a lot about it and a lot of good things, but it's, like a little over an hour drive for me. And I honestly sometimes just get lazy. I don't want to drive all the way to Louisville.
Yeah, Gene McLean, the guy that opened that up, and it's a really nice place. I didn't get to hang there all that much, more so for when there were events that for work and whatnot. But beautiful balcony if you're ever in Louisville downtown area, great place to watch the races and have a couple of drinks. The reason I bring it up, though, you might think that's random. Well, they're sponsoring this race number 9, and you're a big fan of one of the horses in here. I understand. I already
Oh,
knew.
that's
I
right.
understand it even more now.
I think everyone understands it at this point because I will never stop talking about this horse. The Louisville Thoroughbred Society 6 furlong sprint at Churchill Downs features my favorite horse in training right now, what I got to work with over the summer, the number 2 Close the Game Sugar for trainer Adam Rice, owned by Adam and another really famous baseball player, Sugar Diaz. And of course, in the barn, we affectionately call him Meatball. So if you've seen me tweet about Meatball, this is Meatball. For me, Close the Game Sugar or Meatball is a single, honestly, almost any time. He's beaten the other best horse in the field, Skelly, and the RSCDs here at Churchill on June the 1st. Loves Churchill. He loves Kentucky. Last out, he shipped all the way out to Del Mar and was second in the Bing Crosby behind the Chosen Vron and really almost had him. I thought it was an incredible run for a horse stepping up after he won the Kelly's Landing on June 29th. And I'm looking at the win picture of him right in front of my computer right now. Now, of course, I'm going to be on Meatball, not just for sentimental reasons, but because he truly is an incredibly talented horse. I've watched him train every morning. I've cooled him out after training every morning when he was here at Keeneland, and I think this is an incredibly talented horse. Now, that being
You
said,
think he's talented, though?
yeah, incredibly talented. I can say it
Oh,
again,
okay.
just to really drive
It
that
wasn't
point.
coming through clear.
Incredibly talented horse. Now, that being said, the number 10 Skelly, I think, is his biggest threat in this field. He has won in almost every start before this year, but it seems like to me, based on the way that I've looked at his replays and his past performances, he's had a little bit of trouble breaking from the gate this year in a couple 3-4 starts maybe. And I think it's cost him his last 2 wins. If he breaks really sharply today, especially from that outside post going this far, I think he could pretty much threaten Close the Game Sugar's chances. That's how I look at it, in my opinion.
Well, that's the way a lot of people are going to look at it. Those are the 2 favorites. I agree with you. Close the Game Sugar is a standout in this field. I think he's got the tactical speed to stay close enough. We saw him do it with Skelly, who we know is going to be on the lead. And when you play against a horse like Skelly, it's never fun because he's just cruising on the lead. You know he's capable of never giving you a shot. But I just don't think Skelly's that great. He doesn't break well. He's faced some real subpar fields. I think Close the Game Sugar, with the 2 wins at Churchill, proved he liked the track. But I thought the ship out west in the Bing Crosby really cemented him as a legitimate, serious sprinter throughout the country because running second in that race was a good field. The Chosen Vron, who never loses, seemingly never loses, the Cowbred. He lost nothing in respect. I mean, they didn't even, more than me, but they didn't even want to run in that race. It was like an afterthought because he was doing so well. They were planning on giving him a break, right?
Yeah, he was pointed towards a campaign later this year, but was just training so well.
Which is this is the starting point again. And I'm sure they're hoping they can go back out to Southern California, in November, if all goes well. So to me, that was a real positive sign. I don't like when barns make that last second change because the horse is banging the door downs. But when they're doing that and they still run their race, I find that to be an extreme positive. But this horse is moving in the right direction. The only other horse I would use as a backup, I fade Skelly every time. It beats me sometimes, but he's always overbet, in my opinion. Hear Me Song is a hard trier. I think if for whatever reason, Close the Game Sugar doesn't fire, because that is always a possibility.
Absolutely.
Kind of 3 big races, and then he's coming back, and maybe they ran him one more time than they wanted to, by their original plan. So if that doesn't happen, I think Hear Me Song is a super cool story in his own right. has a big chance to pick up those pieces. But I'm pretty much all in on Close the Game Sugar as well. And then I mean, this is a fun pick three, right? We've got the Kentucky Oaks Prep. We've got, I won't call it the meatball race. I'll let you call it that. We got the Little Thoroughbred
The meatball
Society.
race. That's right.
And then we've got the Road to the Kentucky Derby getting started in the Grade 3 Iroquois. I did want to mention a couple things, and then I'll throw it to you. You know, favorites have not done well in this race in the last 4 years. 3 to 5 even money, 4 to 5, and 6 to 5 favorites have lost over 4 years. Last year was West Saratoga winning at 12 to 1. Curly Jack the year before at 10 to 1. Talked about it not being much of a key race for the Derby. All that said, where are you? Who'd you land on?
There's a couple that I like in this race, especially ones that are a little bit better of a price. And the number 12, Politically Correct, the Friday the 13th ghosts keep turning my light off and I don't know what to do. So we're just going to have to roll with it and just enjoy the spooky vibes. But number 12, Politically Correct, for Chris Davis, gets Florent Giroux for the first time. Handful of appearances. He surges right to the front. I think it might be hard for him to do today, especially in kind of a fuller field, but I definitely don't think it's impossible. The number 10, Jonathan's Way, comes into the Iroquois off a pretty impressive maiden victory in a minute 10 at Saratoga on August 17th. Joao Rosario's back running again. And when I was looking at this race, Phil Bauer wins at a 28% clip with 2-year-olds. And I personally am a big closers fan. That's definitely my own bias. I like to see a closer, especially like this at Churchill. So I'll be rooting for Jonathan's Way. But I was taking a look at some of the videos from Kevin Kirstein and some of the other Churchill team on Twitter this week and saw a couple clips of the number 7 Sandman for Mark Casse training. I think he looks really great moving over the Churchill track in the morning. This is a $1.2 million 2-year-old by Tappet out of a mare called Distorted Music, who didn't do much herself. She's got a half sister, but this horse, Sandman, has a half sister by Bernardini. She can't sing. If you remember her, she won the Grade 3 Chiluki here at Churchill in 2022 and was one of the better female sprinters that year, just a couple years ago. So they've bred back. This is a mare that they've had trouble getting in foal. She's lost a couple and seems to be a difficult breeder. But the fact that they have continued to produce horses, including ones like Sandman, after the success of She Can't Sing, I think they're keen on him, and I'll be keen on him for that reason as well.
That's my pick is as well. I'm going 3 deep. The favorite is Owen Almighty. You didn't mention him, so I will mention him. He's the one to beat. He's dominated in 2 starts. This was the type of horse I heard about long before his debut, how he was, couldn't lose back on June 20th. A lot of them do lose, but he ran to it. He was awesome and then backed it up with the win in the juvenile. A couple things with Owen Almighty. He's had outside easy stalking trips as the favorite in both of his 2 starts at a 1 turn. Now, this is still 1 turn, but it's a little different, the full mile. But now he's in between runners. What is the trip going to be like? Is it going to present a different, more stressful situation for a horse that's probably going to be 2 to 1? I worry about that. I already spoke about the favorites, and I think that situation makes sense. Those statistics make sense, or why the favorites don't do well, because a lot of times these are horses coming in off of big maiden victories earlier on in the year, or summer stake wins, or big efforts in those summer stakes. These horses are young. Most of the ones that succeed early are maturing earlier. It doesn't mean they're going to be faster the rest of their lives. Right. So a lot of times these horses come in for big barns, maybe with efforts at Saratoga, and they tend to get overbet a little bit. It doesn't mean they can't win, but I think in situations like this, as a gambler, you've got to try to beat them. And I did go to Sandman as my lukewarm top pick. I think the added ground will benefit. Good call on the pedigree, which She Can't Sing. She's a cool horse, versatile, little better sprinting, but definitely, and on the turf and dirt, she was good. So we'll see how this one plays out, but obviously plenty of distance pedigree with the Tappet bloodline and the distorted humor on the bottom side. And I also think Authentic Strike, who was awesome. Rudolph Brisset, again, hammered 12-horse field, went off at 4 to 5 at Ellis, and showed a lot of grit to win that. And then Jonathan's Way is my other use in here, who the Ohio bred that broke poorly and was just awesome. So Phil Bauer's been on quite a run at an awesome Saratoga, and he might be the one that potentially is coming from the back, like you suggest. But tough race, and looking forward to seeing how they come out of it and where we move forward to as we start to get closer to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
Yeah, definitely a great day of racing at Churchill. Tons of full fields. You've got all these stakes races, a meatball sighting, of course. Who wouldn't love to see that?
You going?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna make the trip. I'm gonna take a look at the weather, see what my weekend plans are. The past 2 weekends, I went down to Kentucky Downs and then I drove down to Cumberland for Possum Fest, which was incredible. If you didn't see the picture of me holding a possum, everyone knows that I love possums more than anything. So it was,
At bet_Bailey.
yes, at underscore Bet Bailey.
Oh, sorry. That
Yes.
stupid underscore, you
I know
know.
the underscore. Somebody else had Bet Bailey, somebody that does
Uh,
football picks, and so I
I
had to put
can't
mine
tag you
down.
half the time because I'm a little bit of a boomer, you know. So
That's okay. We still we still appreciate it anyway. But yeah, I think I'm gonna make the trip out this weekend. Of course, can't miss a chance to see Meatball and then get ready for a big trip out to Cali Crown in at the end of the month. Lots of travel on the schedule.
awesome. Well, should be fun. We've got a couple good promotions I know that you were part of at Woodbine for the Woodbine Mile Card, but I'm really excited to get back at it at Churchill Downs.
Yeah, that's right. This Saturday will be a good day. Like you mentioned, we've got that Woodbine Mile promotion, a 3 million point hit and split. We've got 10 times points on the Irish Champions Festival, which I stopped by my favorite bar in Lexington to talk about that yesterday. So that was pretty fun. And then a couple other promotions on the calendar. And of course, the Kentucky Georgia game on Saturday afternoon as well, which I will be watching. So might have to watch that in the car on the way out to Churchill. We'll see what time
Take,
kickoff is.
take it to them, all right?
Oh, that's right. All righty. Well, thank you so much, Scott. As always, I'm Bailey Armour. He's Scott Shapiro, and this was Horse Sense.